All right, let's talk about famous explorers. You hear that phrase and you probably think Marco Polo, right? Of course. But what if I told you there was another traveler, someone maybe even more remarkable, who made his journey a full 100 years before Marco Polo ever left home? Well, today we're opening up the forgotten journal of this incredible man and traveling 850 years into the past.
Yeah, Marco Polo gets all the credit, doesn't he? He's seen as the ultimate medieval traveler, the man who opened the door to the East. But history, well, it's got some forgotten chapters, and one of them belongs to an explorer whose story is arguably even more amazing. So, who is this mystery man?
His name was Benjamin of Tudela, and he didn't just go on an unbelievable journey. He wrote everything down meticulously. And because he did, his book is basically a time machine. It gives us a chance to see a pivotal moment in history through a completely unique pair of eyes.
So who was Benjamin? He was a Jewish merchant, a scholar, and an explorer from Spain. And this is key. He wasn't some royal courtier or a pope's messenger. He had this completely different outside perspective. More than anything, he was a keen observer, and his travel journal gives us this incredible, high-definition snapshot of the world as it was in the mid-1100s.
So you gotta ask, why? Why would anyone embark on such a long, dangerous journey back then? I mean, this was not 12th century tourism. Benjamin was on a mission, a really complex and, frankly, an urgent one that would take him across 3 continents.
Just think about the sheer scale of this. He leaves his home in Spain in 1165 and doesn't return for 8 years. 8 years! In a time with no planes, no cars, just grit and determination, he crosses through Europe, Asia, and Africa, and then he comes home and compiles all of that experience into one single invaluable book.
So what drove him for all those years? Well, his mission was really threefold. For one, he was a merchant, right? So he was looking for new trade routes. Makes sense. 2, as a man of faith, he wanted to make a pilgrimage to the Holy Land. But the third reason, this was the real heart of it. It was about survival. His mission was to find and document the scattered Jewish communities of the world and to search for safe havens where his people could live without fear of persecution. To really get what Benjamin was up against, we have to understand the world he was walking through. And the 12th century, well, it was an age of turmoil, an age defined by the clash of 2 global superpowers.
The whole world as he knew it was shaped by this one massive conflict. The cross, representing the Christian world, and the crescent, representing the Islamic world, were locked in this fierce struggle for control. And Benjamin's path? It took him right into the heart of it. And his timing was just incredibly precarious. He was traveling in this very tense quiet before the storm. The Second Crusade had just been a demoralizing failure for the Christian forces. And meanwhile, the Islamic world, under leaders like the famous Saladin, was gathering new strength. Benjamin was walking on a knife's edge, right in the middle of a global power shift.
So what did Benjamin actually see on this journey? Well, this is the best part. We're going to follow in his footsteps and visit 3 key cities that he documented. And through his eyes, we get to see just how different and complex the 12th century world really was. Our first stop is Constantinople, the capital of the Eastern Christian world. At the time, it was like the New York or London of its day, this global hub of immense wealth and culture. But underneath that glittering surface, Benjamin saw signs that something was wrong. According to his notes, he found about 2,500 Jews living in this massive city. But here's the catch. They weren't really part of its glory. They were forced to live in a segregated district called Pira, literally separated from the city's wealth. It was a classic case of splendor and alienation living side by side. And Benjamin's observation here is just so sharp. He wasn't fooled by all the grandeur. He looked at the Byzantine military and wrote, and I'm quoting him here, "The locals are like women with no strength to fight." Ouch. He saw that this powerful empire was relying almost entirely on foreign mercenaries for its defense. He spotted a fatal weakness that others missed, a crack in the foundation. Okay, leaving the glamour of Constantinople behind, we arrive in a city with a completely different vibe, Jerusalem. Ruled by the Christian Crusaders, this was the absolute front line of the religious conflict. And this number, it's just staggering. After seeing 2,500 Jews in Constantinople, we get to the holy city of Jerusalem and find only 200. 200 people. That one dramatic number tells you everything you need to know about how unwelcoming and dangerous this place was for Jews at the time. This small community mostly worked as dyers, just trying to scrape by under the constant, wary surveillance of military orders like the Knights Templar. And yet, they kept their faith, gathering to pray at a site they called the Gate of Mercy, a place we know today as the Western Wall.
Now for our final stop, we journey to Baghdad, the heart of the Abbasid Caliphate. And here, Benjamin discovered yet another world, completely different from the other two. It was like stepping into another universe. Get ready for this number, 40,000. Let that sink in. In Baghdad, Benjamin found a massive Jewish community of 40,000 people. You can't even compare that to the 200 in Jerusalem. A figure that big doesn't just suggest a huge city. It points to a climate of remarkable tolerance.
And it wasn't just about the numbers. According to Benjamin, the Jews of Baghdad weren't just surviving, they were thriving. There were 10 great academies of learning. Their community was led by a respected figure they believed was a descendant of King David himself. It was truly a golden age, a precious moment of peace and prosperity that Benjamin captured just decades before the Mongol invasions would change the region forever.
So, when you put the numbers side by side like this, the contrast is just undeniable. It paints this stark, data-driven picture of the profoundly different conditions for Jewish life under the two great powers of the age. So you see, Benjamin's journey wasn't just a trip. It was the creation of a priceless historical document. So why is this 850-year-old travelogue still considered such a treasure today?
Well, it really boils down to three key things. First, he offers a unique third-party perspective on the Crusader era, not from a Christian knight or a Muslim scholar, but from a neutral Jewish merchant. Second, he provides invaluable demographic data that we simply can't find anywhere else. And third, it's an objective snapshot of the commerce, the culture, and the tensions of a world right before it was about to be completely upended.
Ultimately, his book is this enduring testament to a simple fact. Where you lived, under the cross or under the crescent, could mean the difference between persecution and prosperity, between simply surviving and actually thriving. Benjamin gave us a whole new window through which to view the past.
And that leaves us with one final thought. If a sharp-eyed, honest observer like Benjamin were to travel through our modern 21st century world, what would he notice? What cracks in our own foundations? What pockets of unexpected flourishing? What would he write about us?